and obviously when it's plugged into link 2 nothing is happening, so it doesn't spawn the projectile. But once it changes to link 1 it will be able to fire the projectile. But again, it will be running this delay, changing it back and forth. So you can see there that my delay is 1 second long. So every 1 second it will allow me to fire a projectile. So the next thing we want to do is create an archetype. So I'm going to go to the content browser and go to actor classes, and then I'm going to untick all of the top 3 boxes next to the search bar, and then I'm going to type search projectile. I'm then going to find mobile projectile, right click it and create an archetype from that. I'm going to choose my package, choose my grouping as other, and name it. And what this is going to be is my actual weapon fire. So to do that I'm going to create a new particle which I will be plugging into the archetype, and this is just going to be a simple little white cross which I made earlier. So in the particle viewer I'm just going to right click just above required, go to type data and new mesh data, and then I'm going to input my bullet mesh. I'm then just going to set the initial size back down to 1 so it's not huge. I'm going to make sure legacy emitted time is ticked, change the lifetime to 10, min and max to 10, change my spawn to 0 on the constant, and change my burst list count to 1. I'm then going to go to required data, go down to duration, select emitter loops and just tick 1. This will mean that I only have 1 mesh in the projectile at any one time. I then just want to disable initial velocity so it stays still, because I want the velocity to be set by the projectile. Right, with this particle made, I then want to create another one which will be my smoke blast, which will be the particle that plays when I've hit a wall or an object. So I'm just going to get my smoke texture here and plug it into the material. Okay, now this smoke is way too strong for what I want. I just want a small puff of smoke. So I'm just going to edit the properties here, lower down the distribution and spawn, change my burst list so that I just get little pops. Again, set my emitter loops to 1 in the required section. Reduce my initial velocity, and now it's starting to look a lot better. So now we've got our 2 particle systems. I'm going to open up my crossbow bolt archetype, and with my weapon one I'm going to put that into my projectile flight template, and I'm going to put the smoke blast into the explosion template. I'm going to set the damage radius to 0.1, and you can have a fiddle with a few of these properties just to get the weapon working just as you want. I'm going to leave most of the stuff to default. What I'm also going to make sure I do is add something to act as to ignore when hit, and make that a mobile placeable pawn so that I can't shoot myself, which is always good. So now that's done, I'm going to go back into Kismet, select my projectile factory and add a actor factory archetype and add my archetype to that. Okay, cool. So now I've added my weapon type to my... So now I've added my bullet type to my weapon. I now need to just set the spawn point. I'm going to do this by selecting the weapon. Just fix him there, I think I... Get him back, that's okay. And make sure it's still snapped. Anyway, okay, so I'm going to open up Kismet. And I'm going to attach my skeletal mesh weapon to my spawn point. And I'm going to make sure that my target is set to my player. Okay, so that hasn't worked at all. So what's wrong with it? So my rotate's working, but my shooting is definitely not. So first I'm going to align this more because it was upside down in the preview. So I'm just going to turn this the right way up. That's better. Okay, so now it's the right way up. So now I just need to fix the actual shooting. Let's go back into our particle effect for our weapon. Now what we need to do is have the use local space and kill on completed ticked. Now let's see if that's worked. There we go. So apart from the cross being the wrong way round, we've now got the shooting working pretty well. So I'm just going to quickly untick shadows because I noticed that my skeletal mesh is casting a shadow. So now that's clear, that's better. So I'm just going to turn around my crossbow so that it's the right way round. So let's just go to my orientation and flip that 180 degrees. There we go. Okay, so now we've got our weapon in, we can run around and we can shoot. We're now done, we're ready to move on to the next section.